What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday. Today we're going to answer some of the frequently asked questions. I get a lot of these questions repetitively, so I can just send folks the link instead of, or maybe it'll just answer the questions ahead of time and I won't even get sent the questions. Maybe it'll be just so self-serving in that respect. Fingers crossed for the win, I suppose. Let me give you a little background information as to why I'm doing this. I'm out of town. I'm actually on my way back right now as you're watching this video, so you didn't even notice I was gone, really, I hope. Needed to spend a little bit of time with the family, get away for a bit after the butt ice and everything has kind of dropped down, you know, get out there and kind of enjoy ourselves, relax, kick our feet up a bit. It was needed. It was needed on my end. I know it was needed on my wife's end. So I wanted to make sure that you guys had content to get you through the week. Like I said, hopefully you haven't missed a beat in terms of consumption. But because I'm stressed for time and because I'm stressed to get all this stuff, I'm basically doing a double week's worth of work in order to make sure that the following week is good to go. I don't have a whole lot of time to come up with like intricate ideas and thoughts to sort of, you know, get my kind of perspective out on certain things. So I was like, look, this would be an easy, fun way to kind of get some information out and get on with it. I hope you feel the same way. So let's start with the big one, right? The mask. Why do I wear it? Why is it there? I was on a podcast. When I was on this podcast, we were looking at the Generations Blitzwing that was terrible, had all those shoulder issues, and I think a third-party company had made this swap-out Skullface for it. And I think that has some sort of reference to TF Animated. I could be wrong. I'm not really sure. On the podcast, somebody called him Blitzwing Skullface. And I was like, man, I wish I had a cool name like that. And somebody said, well, I'll call you Bobby Skullface. And that became the name. Why did I actually end up wearing the mask? Well, I'll tell you quite honestly, when I started all this, I have a job, right? Like I paid the bills with my 9 to 5. And this was like 2015, so like stuff was beginning to bubble, internet stuff and who's in trouble due to stuff on the internet. My place that I worked didn't have like a internet policy, but I was like, who knows what will come down the pike, as it were. I should probably get ahead of it and sort of protect as much of the chances that I could continue doing this if some policy came out and was like, look, you can't have your face on the internet, or you can't have your proper name on the internet or whatever. Like, I don't know what it was going to be. My job is very much aware that I do this video stuff, but I didn't know what the rules were going to be, if there were going to be rules at all. So I was really just getting ahead of it just in case. When I initially was doing it, it was just like a shtick for skits and stuff in videos, so it was like a brief little thing, so it didn't really matter. But now that we're having these long conversations, I understand that the mask is a lot to look at. And let me tell you, the face ain't much to look at, so maybe I'm doing you a favor. I've never been called a handsome man. You can see every ounce of hardship I've lived through carved on my face, I guarantee you. As it turns out, we did get internet policies and stuff, and nothing that I do here violates any of those, so I would have been fine anyway. But now it's kind of become a thing. The channel's called Bobby Skullface. It's branded under Bobby Skullface. The whole truth bit, like, it's all part of one marketing branding kind of thing in terms of the business side of things. So to take it off now, be Bobby Normal Face would just be silly. It is who I am in regard to the channel, specifically in terms of identity. That's why the mask. Although some would argue it's my real face. Tiger Tracks. Why do I always use Tiger Tracks? Why do I beat up on Tiger Tracks? Tiger Tracks is a reminder to myself. Years ago, once again, when I was getting into this, and Takara released the yellow repaint of Sideswipe, I was like, what is this? This isn't Sunstreaker. What is this? And I read a blog for TF Source on why Tiger Tracks was so important. And he wrote this blog very well, because after I finished reading it, I was like, I'm pretty sure I need this character. So I bought a KO off of eBay just to try it out to see if I needed it. I transformed it into robot mode, I put it on my shelf, and after about 3 weeks, I was like, I don't want this. I'm glad I didn't buy the real one. The character means nothing to me, and this was a mistake. So I guess if I were to have made one smart decision in that, it would have been to buy the KO as a tester. Now, if I wanted it and I did like it afterwards, I probably would have bought the real thing. However, it was very early on in my collecting career, and a lot of my kind of opinions on how to move and consume and buy and sell and all of that hadn't been fully formed yet. And I like to think that they aren't fully formed now. I'd like to think that I'm still growing and still kind of, you know, my world is still changing as I'm moving through it. So, transformed it into car mode and used it as a size comparison piece so that you could always have some sort of standard size comparison, because I don't keep any other masterpiece in alt mode. So it was kind of twofold. One, it's a reminder to me to not get caught up in the hype, to remind myself that I know what characters mean something to me. I know what franchises mean something to me. Just because something's cool or someone else wrote a really good article, and it was a good article. So good, in fact, that it made me go against my own will, or maybe not will, but perhaps instinct, to just trust my instinct, to trust and know myself. And also, because I bash KOs all the time on this channel, it's also a bit of a gag that there's like a KO in every one of my videos. Because I don't take all of that as seriously as some of you do. I make choices in regards to what's best for me and my collection and how I do business, and you're welcome to do the same. So that is the story of Tiger Tracks. It's very similar to the two Legends class figures that I use in all my reviews, because they're just figures that I've stumbled upon. Like Robert D gave me the Iron Factory blaster because he thought it would hook me. He always thinks it's the next thing that's going to hook me on Legends. He doesn't realize that, in spite of how many times I've told him that I have a Star Wars 3 3/4 collection, that will always remind me that I don't want any more small collections in terms of size of figure. But he bought it for me, so I used it as a size comparison for Legends class figures just because it's there. I don't have it on display. I have it in a little tray. It's a matter of convenience. And that's the story behind Tiger Tracks. The story behind Feet. Everybody, why do you say feet like a demon or a devil or whatever? It's not my best moment in life, I will tell you, but it's the truth, and let's just have it out. Keep in mind, I'm a senior in high school. So I was born late in terms of my year, so I was 16. I was turning 17 later that year, and then I would have turned 18 the year that I graduated. We had a meeting, like an assembly rather, about drunk driving and prom promise and all that kind of stuff, and how dangerous it is, which they're absolutely right for any young people watching. Don't drink and drive, it's not worth it. Even if you get past it or you're starting to feel comfortable doing it now, you will get caught. It's like $10,000 minimum. At the very least, you can't afford it, even if you don't take your health and safety seriously now because you're young and feel invincible. And trust me, I remember those days. It's a very pricey bit of trouble to get yourself into. That's me off of my soapbox now. So that's me speaking as a 40-year-old back to my 17-year-old perhaps, or 16-year-old life perhaps. So a woman got up there and gave a presentation that her father was killed in a drunk driving accident. This was to persuade you not to drink and drive. And in the presentation, there was a slideshow thing going on behind her. And in the slideshow was a picture of, when she talked about death, of feet that were toe tagged, you know, like at a morgue. Now, I don't think these were her father's feet. I don't know who would have taken that photograph. I think it was like a stock photo. But it was definitely intended to be representative of her father. And it was a very moving speech, and she was crying, and it was very sad. And when that picture came up with the feet very much in the forefront, my buddy Dwayne M. yelled at the top of his lungs, "Feet!" And we started laughing, my circle of friends. And we all were kicked out of the assembly, rightfully so. We deserved to be kicked out of the assembly, got in our little bit of trouble, and moved on with our lives. And I apologize to her if she should happen to come across this. It was very rude of us, but we were 16. So that's the story behind Feet, is because of what this dude yelled at a very vulnerable moment for a very nice lady. People often ask me about my favorite Transformer. My favorite Transformer is Dead End. The reason why I like him is because he's loyal to the Stunticon cause, first and foremost. So Stunticons come first, then Decepticons, then kind of the rest of it. He's more loyal to his immediate squad than he is to the entire cause of the army that he's kind of assigned to. So Starscream's gonna kill Megatron? Who cares? Something's going on with Megatron? We're busy. Stunticon stuff's going on. We gotta deal with that. We're Stunticons first and foremost. Everything else kind of be damned. And that's why I liked him, and that's why I like the team. I like loyalty, and I like a strong crew. It's one of the reasons why I like Star Wars. It's one of the reasons why I like, you know, the Bat family. It's something that draws me to it. Brotherhood is a theme that I'm very much attracted to. So it kind of carries on to the other side of the aisle, as it were, with Autobots. In regards to Autobots, Grimlock is my favorite Autobot, and the Dinobots are my favorite team, and for the same exact reasons as Dead End and the Stunticons. To me, they are more comparable than any other. Two sides of the same coin in many ways to me. I often get asked about a number of franchises that are kind of close to Transformers aesthetically, I guess. I get asked about Gundam, I get asked about Robotech and Macross, however you want to view that. I'm not getting involved in that drama. Mech stuff, Pacific Rim, even, you know, down to stuff that's far off like wrestling or whatever. And the truth is I'm not into any of that. I'm not into mech as like just something that does it for me. I like Transformers because of the characters and the connection I had to it as a kid. It has nothing to do really with the fact that they're robots. They could have been humans in design, like, you know, that could have been G.I. Joe, and I would have been attracted to the characters the same way. It has nothing to do with the robot aspect of it. They are, I think, the only robots I collect, unless you include Cyborg and maybe a bat from G.I. Joe. Oh, and droids from Star Wars, to be fair. But yeah, that's just not my bag. The stuff that I'm into is probably, these days, DC first and foremost. My kids are named after DC characters and Star Wars characters. And then I'm kind of into Transformers and Star Wars and Marvel, G.I. Joe, Turtles, and then I kind of have a waning interest in a number of other things like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and actually they might be heavier up on my list than I'm giving them credit for. But those sorts of things. I'm not into mech as just a mech thing. Just because it's a mech, it doesn't do anything for me. I have to be attracted to the character in terms of what the character is about and how they interact with the other characters in that universe. I have to be connected to the story. It has to mean something to me. And it's not all nostalgia for me because, like, I'm really into Game of Thrones and I really like Mass Effect, and both of those things, like, I kind of came into much later on in life. And, like, I like other stuff too that isn't quite as, like, sci-fi nerdy stuff. But yeah, so those are kind of the questions that I get asked most frequently. And I guess if I were to answer one more, it would probably be like, why did you start doing this? And it was just because I found that people liked my opinion or respected my opinion and wanted to hear more of it. And so I was like, well, like I often found myself needing something to do, you know, like I have a pretty flexible schedule, and I was like noticing I was sitting around my wife many days saying, what do you want to do? And it was like we were like the vultures in Jungle Book, like, I don't know what you want to do, don't start that again. So it kind of gave me something to do, and people seemed to like it, and then it has turned into something else, like a kind of a part-time job. So that's it. Not the most, you know, nitty-gritty, but a little personal stuff and stuff I often get asked about, so hope that helps. I'm trying to think if there's anything else before I get in. Where am I? I'm from Maryland, born and raised. Probably will die here. Other than that, I'll be back next week with something more nitty-gritty. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.